Bill Gates, How to Avoid a Climate Disaster, the Solutions We Have and the Breakthroughs We Need. Welcome to the summary of How to Avoid a Climate Disaster, the Solutions We Have and the Breakthroughs We Need by Bill Gates. In this insightful book, Gates outlines the urgent steps we must take to curb greenhouse gas emissions and the impending climate crisis. Covering a variety of topics and themes, this summary delves into the nature of greenhouse gases, the current state of global emissions, and the innovations needed to achieve zero emissions. Learn about proposed solutions spanning from energy production and consumption to changes in agriculture and building materials. Follow along as we explore the monumental efforts and progress required to save our planet.
Climate Change, Zero Emission Solution. Bill Gates and Paul Allen founded Microsoft in 1975 in Albuquerque. Today, the city faces severe consequences due to climate change. Global warming is rapidly increasing, and by 2050, the number of hot days will double, and by the end of the century, it will triple. The reason for this is human activities, including pumping around 51 billion tons of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere every year. To save ourselves from a disaster, we need to get our greenhouse gas emissions to zero. The term greenhouse gases refers to many different gases, but carbon dioxide alone accounts for more than 70% of yearly emissions. The effect of these gases is that the planet has gotten hotter, causing various consequences like more droughts, wildfires, and flooding. These consequences, including fewer habitats for both plants and animals, will only get worse if we don't act. We need to get to zero emissions because every second we don't, the situation worsens. Reaching zero emissions, a daunting but necessary task. The road to reducing harmful emissions may seem insurmountable, but it is an essential goal that must be achieved. Despite being cheap and abundant, we cannot rely on fossil fuels and their efficient derivatives as they are significant contributors to global warming. The path to zero emissions means reimagining how we use fundamental things like energy grids, transportation, construction materials, and large-scale agriculture. Although challenging, it is feasible to aim for net zero emissions even if we will not stop burning fossil fuels entirely. Currently, the largest contributors to the climate crisis fall into 5 categories: making things, plugging in or electricity, growing things, getting around, and keeping warm and cool. Our focus will be on the second category, which has already seen some progress. Zeroing in on clean energy. Electricity's impact on the world goes beyond its immediate effects, and the change to clean energy will require major innovations. The current method involves burning fossil fuels, which account for 2/3 of the world's electricity. The use of nuclear power, while efficient, has a bad reputation. Wind and solar energy only account for around 7% of the electricity produced worldwide. Storing excess energy in batteries is not a practical option yet, and instead, innovation should be focused on updating and supplementing power grids. While it's a significant challenge, achieving a zero-emissions world begins with clean electricity. The greenhouse gas emissions in production. Production of materials like steel, concrete, and plastic account for a significant amount of greenhouse gas emissions in the world, primarily generated by burning fossil fuels. The creation process for producing steel and concrete, in particular, requires an immense amount of heat resulting in substantial carbon generation. However, the book highlights that plastics could be an essential factor in the efforts to reduce carbon emissions, as plastic contains carbon, and storing carbon in plastic could turn it into a net negative emission product. Although carbon capture technology exists, it is not an efficient source of carbon due to the high cost. Conscious eating. Did you know that our food practices produce more harmful emissions than transportation? Harmful emissions come in unexpected ways, and throwing away food is a significant contributor. We can reduce food industry emissions by living more consciously. Fertilizers and deforestation are also contributing factors. While governments need to offer incentives for farmers to adopt new practices, we as consumers can do our part by eating less meat, wasting less food, and supporting businesses that employ clean practices. Understanding green premiums. The concept of green premiums is a useful tool in understanding the cost differences between current practices and the clean practices needed to reduce emissions. For instance, carbon capture technology needs more research and funding to become a viable and cost-effective option. In terms of sustainable transportation options, electrofuels and advanced biofuels are both drop-in fuel alternatives that need attention and funding, as they come with a high green premium, 237% for electrofuels and 106% for advanced biofuels. Making these options cost-competitive with conventional fuels is necessary for their widespread adoption. However, using clean fuels in transportation depends on the type of vehicle and distance to be traveled. For short-distance travel, like public transportation, electric charging stations can easily be set up. However, for long-haul trucking or air travel, battery technology needs more development to provide cost-effective and sustainable alternatives to conventional fuels. Ultimately, understanding and reducing green premiums is essential to achieving a sustainable future. The future of heating and cooling. With the rise of wealth, more people will travel, buy food, and use heating and air conditioning. The number of air conditioning units in use is expected to increase to 5 billion by 2050. Heating and AC make up 7% of greenhouse gas emissions, and that number is expected to rise. The solution lies in setting minimum standards for energy efficiency and switching to electric heat pumps. By doing so, energy demand would drop and costs would decrease by up to 27%. Roadmap to Zero. The journey to zero emissions requires changes in government policy, international cooperation, technological advancements, and individual action. The path entails creating early warning systems, constructing energy-efficient homes, updating infrastructure to accommodate clean energy, and establishing worldwide minimum standards on emissions. Investing $1.8 trillion into preventing climate disasters will generate benefits of up to $7 trillion over 10 years. The target of getting to zero by 2050 mandates the need for carbon capture, biofuels, and other technologies. Governments, along with policies and incentives, can help to spark a competitive market for alternative energies. The call to action is for citizens to demand action from their representatives, embrace clean energy technologies, and aim for zero by 2050.
And how to avoid a climate disaster. Bill Gates lays out a comprehensive plan to tackle the ongoing climate crisis and achieve zero emissions by 2050. By exploring numerous solutions including renewable energy, carbon capture, sustainable agriculture, and improved building materials, Gates demonstrates the need for global cooperation and collective action. Furthermore, he emphasizes the importance of policies and incentives to spark clean energy innovations, and the role of individuals and corporations in reducing their own emissions. This summary drives home the pressing need to confront the challenges we face, invest in research and technology, and ultimately create a sustainable future for all. Together, we can change the course of this dire situation and avoid a climate disaster.